Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We try to cut through the noise here and focus on things that genuinely shape your life. And today, well, we're getting to something pretty universal. Pain. I mean, almost everyone experiences it at some point, right? But we're looking at it perhaps from a different angle today, based on some really interesting source material. It's this idea, this premise, that pain isn't just, well, a nuisance, something you just want to get rid of. Instead, maybe it's a vital message, a really powerful one from your body. And here's the connection we're exploring. It's often directly linked to your nutrition, to what you eat every day. Yeah, our insights today are drawn from a deep dive into pain, nutrition, and your body's message. That's from the Vital Codes podcast. So our mission really is to unpack how maybe those everyday food choices, things that seem pretty normal, how they could actually be the hidden spark behind aches, chronic conditions, maybe even more serious stuff down the line. And understanding this, well, it feels pretty empowering actually. So let me just pose this question right at the start. What if the food on your plate, the stuff you eat without a second thought, is actually a primary trigger for your pain?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? Because it really does challenge how most of us think about pain. We tend to see it as the enemy, right? It's something to be silenced, pop a pill, make it go away. But this perspective, it reframes pain completely. It's suggesting pain isn't the problem itself. It's more like an urgent message, a communication.
Okay, let's really unpack that then. Pain as a critical signal. You're saying it's not just a bad feeling. The source material seems very clear. It's the body's way, maybe a sophisticated way of saying, hey, there's an imbalance here. Like an internal alarm bell going off. Not random noise, but an intelligent signal.
Exactly. It's like your body's check engine light coming on. So instead of just trying to, turn off the light, the idea is we should listen. The body isn't just complaining randomly. It's giving a warning, maybe even an urgent plea to make some changes. It's basically inviting us to take a hard look at our dietary habits, to ask, is what I'm eating contributing to this distress? Are we actually listening?
That shift from enemy to invitation is, it's powerful. But I imagine for someone in chronic pain, making that mental shift is tough. Really tough. So how do we start? How do we begin to build that different relationship with these signals? What are some of the specific alarms the body might be ringing? Through common things like joint pain or headaches, and how exactly does food play into that?
That's where looking at specifics really helps, I think. When you see the direct links, it makes it easier to view pain as a message you can actually decipher. The source highlights that many people deal with these chronic aches and they feel kind of abstract maybe, but when you zoom in, the food connection can become surprisingly clear.
Right, and this is where it gets really compelling for me. The source doesn't just talk about pain generally, it gives very specific examples. It shows how common foods contribute to distinct types of pain. Things lots of us feel regularly, maybe without ever connecting the dots. Let's start with something really common, joint pain, and related conditions like rheumatism. The source says a lot of this pain is just fueled by inflammation.
That's the key word, inflammation. And just so we're clear, we mean the body's immune response. Now, short-term inflammation is good, it helps healing. But chronic inflammation, that's different. It's often triggered or kept going by diet and becomes destructive. It causes persistent pain, damages tissues, and rheumatism often involves this kind of chronic inflammation in joints and connective tissues. The source is quite specific about the dietary culprits here. The inflammation boosters, we're talking refined sugars, we're talking white bread, fried foods. These aren't just vaguely bad for you. They actively promote inflammatory processes in the body. Think cytokines, free radicals. So yeah, that seemingly normal meal, maybe a sandwich on white bread, a sugary drink, some fries on the side, that could literally be the spark. Igniting or just making that joint pain worse, it's biochemical, direct, and it's often completely missed.
Wow. It's kind of shocking how those everyday staples can hit our joints so directly. Okay, let's shift gears. What about headaches? Migraines, another huge issue. So many people suffer, reach for the painkiller, but maybe they're missing that food link entirely.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is how the source names specific triggers for chronic headaches. It mentions monosodium glutamate MSG, flavor enhancer. It's in some canned goods, lots of restaurant food. For people who are sensitive, it can overexcite nerve cells. Boom, headache. But it also mentions things like too much caffeine,
right,
or even just not drinking enough water, simple dehydration.
Caffeine, that's surprising. Some people use it for headache.
Right, it constricts blood vessels. But the withdrawal from caffeine causes them to dilate rapidly. That sudden rush of blood flow can trigger a rebound headache and dehydration. While that messes with blood volume, electrolytes, it can change brain pressure and chemistry. Result, headache. These aren't exotic things, are they? They're part of many people's daily routines. but get the balance wrong. And you could be looking at persistent headaches. It shows how sensitive the body is.
It really does. Little imbalances having big effects. Okay, and then there's stomach pain. IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. I think many people do sort of recognize a link between food and gut pain here, but the source digs into why it becomes chronic, why it's so debilitating for some.
Yes, it does. It explains how things like fast food, fizzy drinks, even just eating heavy meals late at night, how they create this significant imbalance in your digestive system. It's not just about a bit of indigestion. It's about disrupting the gut microbiome, those trillions of bacteria. It can lead to inflammation in the gut lining, affect how food moves through, cause things like acid reflux. And when that disruption happens again and again consistently, well, that's when you get chronic pain. It can sadly become just a regular part of life, really impacting quality of life. The digestive system is sensitive. Feed it constantly with processed stuff, low fiber, lots of additives. You're basically working against its natural rhythm, and the pain is the result.
Okay, so we've seen these direct links, joints, head, gut. But what about the bigger picture? Because the source suggests this goes beyond just immediate pain, right? It points towards more serious long-term health consequences.
Yeah.
It's not just about aches and discomfort, but a potential domino effect.
Exactly. This really brings up a critical question about the long-term impact of our food choices, doesn't it? The source is quite emphatic here. It says poor nutrition doesn't just cause momentary pain. It basically opens the door to serious organic diseases.
Organic diseases, meaning?
Meaning conditions where there's actual structural or functional damage to organs, not just temporary upset. We're talking things like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, liver problems, fatty liver disease is a big one, even heart disease. Think about it. Constantly eating refined sugars, processed foods, that can lead straight to insulin resistance. That's the doorstep of type 2 diabetes. And diabetes brings its own pains. Neuropathy, nerve pain, circulation issues, or diets high in salt, unhealthy fats. They contribute to stiff arteries, plaque buildup. That raises blood pressure, increases heart disease risk. And both of those come with their own set of pains and problems. It's this really unfortunate cycle. And the source suggests much of it could be prevented or at least significantly managed through diet. So the key takeaway is that the chronic pain from poor diet, it isn't just a symptom to endure. It's often an early warning, a sign of potentially much more serious systemic problems brewing under the surface.
That really drives home the urgency, doesn't it? And the sheer scope of how food impacts us, from a twinge to a potentially life-altering conditions, all connected to our plates. And this is the hopeful part, the empowering part. The solution isn't always more medication. The source really shifts the focus. It says the real solution often starts right there with your plate.
Absolutely. That's the core message of hope and personal agency here. The source outlines a pretty clear path forward. Recommendations for wellness based on supporting the body's own systems. It talks about embracing a balanced diet, which means, whole, unprocessed foods primarily, making sure you get enough water. We saw how crucial hydration is. Cutting way back on sugar, we've established it's a major inflammation driver, messes with metabolism, and really relying on fresh vegetables, fruits, good quality natural proteins, lean meats, fish, beans, lentils, and healthy fats like olive oil, nuts, seeds. Extra virgin olive oil gets a specific mention.
So it's not just about avoiding the bad stuff, but actively choosing the good stuff.
Exactly. These choices aren't just about calories or weight. They're about giving your body the actual tools it needs, the building blocks, the anti-inflammatory compounds, everything it needs to function well, to repair itself, and importantly, to communicate its needs without screaming in pain, like the fiber in vegetables and fruits. It feeds your good gut bacteria. That reduces inflammation everywhere in the body. Healthy fats and olive oil. They support your cell membranes, fight inflammation directly. It comes back to listening, making choices that actively support your body's well-being.
This whole deep dive, it really changes how you look at a meal, doesn't it? If I had to sum it up, the core message seems crystal clear. Pain and nutrition, they're like two sides of the same coin, inextricably linked. And understanding that link, that gives us, immense power over our own health.
It really does. And connecting back to that bigger picture, the source leaves us with a thought that's, it's quite impactful. It says something like, your body records every bite that enters it, either for your benefit or against you. It's a stock reminder, isn't it? This continuous dialogue happening inside us. And our food choices are a huge part of that conversation.
So here's something to maybe reflect on. What if just rethinking what's on your plate could do more than just ease pain? What if it could unlock a level of energy, the vitality that maybe you didn't even realize was possible? What subtle messages might your body be trying to send you right now? And how could a simple shift in your diet maybe change that whole conversation, turning those alarm bells into, well, whispers of wellness, something to ponder until our next deep dive.